Okay, so it's taken a while for the penny to drop. So the real difference between these IPv6 tunneling mechanisms really is found in the protocol next hop. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're running family iNet 6, yes, it's going to create a next hop route using these v4 mapped addresses. And that's going to look the same as the v4 mapped address in 6PE, but they're very different. So this v4 mapped address here is literally just a next hop. And as a next hop, it just has to resolve. But we're not using MPLS, it's just resolving in the route table. And so consequently, that resolution is very easy to do. You could just type these in on the eBGP interface, for example, or you can change them. Now, an eBGP route going to iBGP needs a next hop resolution anyway. So as long as you're on top of your next hop resolutions, this family iNet 6 is relatively easy to handle between the external BGP and even if we're running it on the route reflector. And the fact that we have no MPLS on really isn't an issue because we're not using any kind of MPLS resolution on this. It's just a route, a native route. Now, 6PE is really completely different because when we turn on set protocol MPLS IPv6 tunneling, what this does is this puts some routes into our 6.3. And the routes it puts in are our LSP endpoints, v4 mapped addressed. Now, both ends are doing that, and now when the routes get sent across, the protocol next hop gets set to what the other end is going to be expecting. So if you now change your next hop address, you're going to break it. It just can't be changed because both ends are setting them expecting the LSP endpoints with the v4 mapped address to be in this format to resolve. BGP is looking for them. If it doesn't find them, it's not going to work. So you really can't change them unless you start doing a lot of changes. And then, of course, it isn't the MPLS IPv6 tunneling. Okay, 6VPE really is very similar because even though we're using the L3 VPN whole story, that whole VPN structure, we are still running the IPv6 tunneling. And if you look in the 6.3, you'll see these routes. And so the real difference between these two and the iNet 6 is the iNet 6, you're not necessarily, you're not doing anything in 6.3. Okay, so let's move on to the next one then. So ISIS shortcuts. Now ISIS shortcuts work very similar to the 6PE. When you look in the routing table 6.3, you don't see the LSP endpoints v4 mapped. You see the standard ISIS version 6 loopback in the table 6.3. So it automatically enters routes into the 6.3. It just isn't using this, this v4 mapped address structure. And that's really it. The major difference between these is to be found in the protocol next hop. The family iNet 6, the way that we're running this in Superlab 2, just completely native. And also, in the middle of the examples where we're doing things like shortcuts or 6PE, suddenly you'll have to resolve to an external peer. And that resolution, because it's external, isn't going to MPLS and will almost certainly be just the iNet 6.